Today's lesson we are going to learn how to compose using the cycle of fifths. So we better explain just what that actually means. This is to try to help develop chord progressions so that you can create more interesting compositions. So to try to build off from what we did last week, let's see if we can use or learn to use a few of the techniques that are used to arrange chords in a particular order. So, cycle of fifths, what is that? So, let's write our chords out first of all. So we have chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6, and I will write chord 7 this time. Right. Let's put them all in one little, where are we? Layout. There we go. Right, so here's our chords and standard format for when you're in a key. So chord 2, 3, and 6 are minor chords and chord 7 is a diminished triad. There we go. So what is the cycle of fifths? Now, this does confuse some people, but the cycle of fifths is where each chord is, the root note of each chord is the dominant of the next. All right, so I'm going to put these chords into that order. Now, this is going to confuse you. You're going to think, are you insane? But bear with me. Now, C is the dominant note. So the dominant is the fifth, right? So dominant is the fifth note of a scale. Right, so the dominant note of C major key is G, right? So use your fingers, C, always count the first note as 1, C, D, E, F, G, G is the fifth note. But what we're going to do is order the chords so that each chord is the fifth of the next one, right? So C is the fifth note of F, and F is the fifth note of, look, it's really B flat, but it's B here, so that's a bit dodgy. Just bear with that, okay? Just don't worry about that. We'll talk about that a bit later. Just go with me for now. B is the dominant note of E, right? And the whole point of that is F to B is actually a augmented fifth. But anyway, just ignore that for now. E minor, E is the fifth note of A is the fifth note of D, and D is the fifth note of G, and G is the fifth note of C. So there they are. Now, this is just a little spike in the key, and we can sort of just live with it for now. It's not, F is not actually the dominant of B. F is the dominant of B flat, but this is what makes our major key interesting, right? So it just so happens. And that's what we call a tritone. F to B is a tritone. It's an augmented fifth. All right. Why have I ordered them like this? It looks like the order of fourths, doesn't it? Well, a fourth is the inversion of a fifth. So as I tried to make it clear, C is the dominant note of F, etc. So what this means is that the chords, as much as possible, just omitting our little F to B problem, the chords have been arranged in the order of the cycle of fifths so that we are constantly moving towards resolution. So a 5-to-1 chord progression really defines resolution in harmony. So the best expression of that in this key is G to C. Right, so the perfect fifth, apart from the octave, is sort of the next most stable interval. So the best expression of resolution in a key is going from G to C, chord 5-to-1. Okay, and so when we arrange the chords in this order, we get a really stable chord progression, and that's why we feel the sense of resolution. So composers, particularly throughout the 20th century, songwriters were constantly using 6, 2, 5, 1 chord progressions. Even 2-5-1s were very common. So, of course, we can extend this a bit further. We can have 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Another alternative way that's very common to order them is to start on chord 6, which is a substitute for chord 1, right? And then if you do that, then we can sort of add this little ending here. And you might be interested to know that is actually the chords of Fly Me to the Moon, right? So if you look at the chord progression of Fly Me to the Moon, there it is, right? And all the chords are arranged in the cycle of fifths. And so it's very satisfying. And it even just uses our little awkward moment here. Of course, it does turn B diminished. They'll typically add a seventh to that, and then they'll raise the seventh there. And so if you look at the actual chord progression of Fly Me to the Moon, there's a little more knowledge there. But I don't want to overload in this lesson, so see it for what it is. Now, if you're composing, so I'm going to leave these two there. Hang on, what have we got this for? Let's tidy this up. Let's have a tidy desktop, shall we? All right, there we go. So we're trying to compose with the cycle of fifths. We wrote out our chords. We ordered them into the cycle of fifths. And then we saw a common order where you can start on chord 6 and kind of go to chord 6. That's been very commonly done. Even the song Autumn Leaves uses most of that. Okay, but you want to compose. So what is this all about? What you do need to understand is, on the one hand, this is a very stable form of chord progression, and what that means is the chords move very well into each other because we've got this style of resolution where the root note of each chord is the dominant of the next. And so it sounds really, really stable. How about we listen to this? Let's arrange it. So you'll remember last time I showed you how you could drop notes in chords an octave down just to smooth out your arrangement. So let's quickly do that, and you can hear this, and then you'll see what I mean. And just for the sake of Fly Me to the Moon, we'll raise the seventh. So it's kind of like we're in A minor, but really we're in A minor as the relative minor or substitute of C major itself. So, but it just works practically. So why don't I put a little walking bass with this. This type of cycle of fifths chord progression has been very common in jazz, and so if you use it, you'll recognize lots of jazz forms, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a jazz style. It can be used in lots of different ways, and as you'll see from, I'm trying to talk and do something at the same time, which is very, very dodgy for me. But anyway, here we go. So if you have a listen to this, what is that doing there? Come down here. I hate it when programs just try to be awkward. Here we go. I just want to be able to see the whole thing. So let's have a listen. So in jazz music, they have always typically added sevenths to that. and there's a lot you can play around with sevenths, thirds and sevenths as guide tones. And oops, it would typically sound like this. I've already got a seventh there, and so you would hear it in this manner. And so what happens is in each chord, the seventh of one becomes the third in the next. So these are typically known as guide tones. So if you use sevenths with them, that's what happens. Seventh falls to the third, and third becomes the seventh. And so that's just a really convenient way of forming guide tones as you organize the chords here in the cycle of fifths. So there's a tradition. And so you must remember when you are using the cycle of fifths, you're kind of dipping into that tradition. And so you will recognize a lot of chord movement. So on the one hand, overused, maybe. However, everything's available. Just because it's, there's a long history of using the cycle of fifths in chord progressions doesn't mean you can't use it. It should be part of your toolbox. So as when you're composing, you need toolboxes, you need tricks up your sleeve. So it might be appropriate if you're writing music that you maybe use a little bit of this. Maybe you don't use it all, but maybe you learn how to use a bit of it. It should be part of anyone's learning. If you're writing chord progressions, that you understand the cycle of fifths. So it's that kind of basic. So I'm going to try and see if I can put together a little chord progression. So I might start on chord 1. Then I might dip into the cycle of fifths for a little bit. All right. So I'm going to go to chord 6, and then I'm going to do the chord 2, and then I'm going to do chord 5. So I'm going to dip into that much of it, right? Just to get a bit of a 4-bar phrase and end on the dominant. So I've used a bit of the cycle of fifths. Now I am going to want to end on chord 1. Where did my chord go? Oh, there it is. So I'm going to end on chord 1. So what can I do here? Well, if I'm going to stay to the cycle of fifths, then this kind of gets a little bit dictated to. So okay, so this isn't too fancy, but you can see how I've tried to stick to the cycle of fifths, start somewhere at a certain point, dip into it, just to use it for a bit, and then if I want to bring that back to the tonic, that kind of dictates then how I approach the tonic chord here. So hang on, I'll just name these. So if people are not sure what's going on, oh wait, hang on. Let's put the bass notes with it. So the computer understands what chord we want, right? And then you'll see composing with it's pretty easy. And being the cycle of fifths, you can really add sevenths with it. It's really simple to do. Now we need to, let's name them. There we go. A minor, G, and then we've got A minor, D minor, G. Okay, so, all right. Now, let's quickly turn this into a little piece. Maybe I should show. Why don't we do... Let's go a bit further. So I could for my next phrase, dip into a bit more here, because we could go, if I wanted to have more phrases, I could go E minor and then A minor. As a kind of a little pair. And then I could have then D minor to G. Right. And then typically then I would do the last line again. All right. So if we wanted to spill that out onto 16 bars. Let's tidy these up. There we go. That's looking good. Put the little bass note in there. And you'll see this can sort of break out to jazz quite easily, because you'll recognize it. So here's the sound of the chords. Going on. So I get a little bit of developmental sense using E minor. And then this is going to bring it home for me. Okay, so as a chord progression, it's focusing on the cycle of fifths. All right, we need a tune, don't we? So composing, I did say composing with the cycle of fifths. So let's get, look, I always get the flute. I'm sure flute players will appreciate that. It's just because it sounds like a real instrument on this program. Okay. Now, oh wait, where's my chord? Oh, here we are. And look, let's add the sevenths. Why not? What am I doing? Yep, there we go. So I'm adding sevenths to each of these. And there we go. Right, and one more. What have we got? There we go. Oops. And last one. Right. Okay, so we need a melody. So again, just and you can use the seventh notes as melody notes. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So in contemporary music language, I haven't really gone into this very much, but in contemporary music language, you can add sevenths and ninths and what have you, and they can often feature in the actual melody themselves. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to do this. You can just watch me do this. I'm trying to be a bit smart here. Just keep going, John. Just keep it moving. So using a C. Just come down to there. All right, composing away. What's the next one? Here's our next phrase. All right, where possible, try to sort of think about sequences. See how I've got B, D, C, A, C, B. Right, trying to use similar melodic shapes in sequence is really strong, and it should be pretty easy to do when you're doing the cycle of fifths. Should be pretty easy. And then what I'll do, again, we're kind of finishing on this phrase, but what I might do is see if I can tweak this. And I'm doing the inversion of that little, oops. To finish off. So I actually did the inversion of this shape. Inversion means to make it upside down. So that means this went up a third, down a second, and I've gone down a third, up a second. All right, so now I need a bit of a pattern. Typically, we might going to put this into a chordal with a little bit of syncopation. There we go. And okay, once I get the piano pattern, then what you can do is just copy it where just changing the notes just saves a lot of time. So learning to use the software quickly. Okay, so just ignore these chord signs that I've just been copying and pasting, so that's looking a bit of a mess at the moment. Composing is messy, can I just say. Anyway, on with the show. A minor, D minor. Oh, and G minor, so I can get that. I can copy that there. And then we've got the C there. So copy and paste should help me now. Now what do I need? Oh, just the E minor is a little bit different. That's all right. We can just get that. Move that up. And then we need A minor, D minor, G. There we go. Already got that. Put that down there. All right, and then I just need the ending, which I think is the same as that. Yep, and there. Oops. There we go. And finish off with that. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm going to add a bit of swing. Like, we're in this territory, why don't we just do it? So I might try and write the word swing. Is that going to work? So I'll write the word swing. No. What I'll do is I'll just change the playback. Playback. Transform, and we want transform playback. Is this going to work? Live playback. Why isn't that working? Performance. Straight, heavy swing. Here we go. Most of the software will be able to do this for you. There you go. All right. So now a typical. So you see, I can do a bit of a walking. And you'll see, always when you do this, you want to kind of link it. so you'll see what I mean here. Now, we go to the melody, and what we want to do is use some syncopation. So the best way is to think of creating an anticipation note. So an anticipation note is where you bring the note ahead of the main beat. So in this case, I've created a dotted crotchet on the first one, but then this B I'm bringing onto the offbeat of the second beat. And so we just get that little bit of all right, and circling around notes is a good melodic device. So chordal skip. So on the second beat, that's a neighbor note. So that's another form of embellishing the melody. And then I'm going to just use literally a chromatic passing note. Whoops. I'm kind of going for it, people. I'm just in my element. I'm just going crazy here. All right, so you can just see I've adapted my skeleton first. We can't hear those notes. Oh, hang on, let's move that down the octave. You'll be able to hear it better. All right, here we go. I'll just fix that. That was sounding a bit lame. All right, I've done these 4 bars to tidy them up. Now, obviously, in the interest of time, I just copied the same pattern. You could mix up these piano chords to make them sound like it's a little more spontaneous just by changing the patterns. Let me see. So if I did this, so just mix them. It only takes a bit of variation to really make it more satisfying to listen to. So I know I've gone down the swing road, but it gives you an idea. You can tie that across if you want, any kind of note in common across the bar. So it's kind of a sort of a suspension, which I kind of resolve in a little bit of a turnaround there. So okay, hang on. Let's just need to hear the flute. Let's mix. Turn that piano down. There we go. Here we go. And here's what we've come up with. Okay, so that's composing with the cycle of fifths. So, and it doesn't have to be swing. It doesn't have to be a walking bass and sound like a jazz standard. But do understand when you use the cycle of fifths, you are kind of tapping into that legacy. Lots of pop songs and all sorts of compositions have used the cycle of fifths without turning into a swing jazz. So, yeah, that's there to explore. You should understand it. It should be part of your toolbox. So I hope this has helped make sense what we are talking about and how you can compose with it. All right, so hope that's helped. And I shall see you next week for some more of this.